Good morning, students. Today we are going to discuss a very important modern poet, critic, and a dramatist. And his name is T.S. Eliot. Eliot is a very well known name of the 20th century literature. He was also a poet, critic, and dramatist. Although he was born in America, but he shifted to England and he took British citizenship. He came to England in 1915. He became a naturalized British citizen in 1927. His poems, T.S. Eliot poems, began a new era in English poetry. There was upset. He he was upset with the cultural and social situation of his times. He was concerned about the moral degeneration which took place in the 20th century in the modern man's life. So he has portrayed these kind of situation, these kind of images through his poetry. He has created rhythms and images which are modern. His images are considered very modern and reflects the tension of contemporary society. He has very well picturized the situation of modern man, the dilemma he faces, the condition of his life. So he has portrayed these kind of situations through modern images in his poems. He worked as a director of the publishing firm Faber and Faber, which was a famous company of publication. And not only that, Eliot influenced many modern writers, many great deal of writers of his time. He was a byword for the poets of 50s. His poems were very popular in 1950s and the generation of India. He also influenced the English writer, the Indian writers and poets. And many of them are deeply influenced by T.S. Eliot. So, the T.S. Eliot has a very influencing effect on the modern writers, and he is a big name in this field. Now, the poem which is prescribed in your syllabus is Prelude. Now, what does the prelude means? Prelude means the beginning exercise which leads to something more large or more big. It is a beginning exercise of something which is going to happen in a big way. In musical terms, it carries the meaning of an introductory musical piece. In musical term, it carries the meaning of a musical piece which is followed by the principal movement, that the major music comes later on. It is just a preparatory, you can say. It is the beginning of there. These poems are, in this poem, the Prelude, T.S. Eliot presents four sketches of contemporary life, contemporary modern life, written in 1910 to 1911. The poet with a painter's eye captures landscape and atmosphere. Like a painter, he captures, he figures out the atmosphere of contemporary man. In the first two sections, he captures the atmosphere, the mood, and in the last two sections, he presents two characters. In the third part, there is a man, and in the final part, there is a woman. So, in this way, there is a comprehensive view of a modern way of life. All aspects are covered in that. The poem depicts the sad, gloomy, and ugly aspects of the contemporary life. When you will read out the poems, it gives out a very gloomy and ugly picture of the contemporary society. For example, look at that how the poem begins. The winter evening settles down with the smell of sticks in passageways. 6 o'clock, the burnt out ends of a smoky days, and now a gusty shower wraps the creamy rags. So look at that how the atmosphere was in the contemporary society when the office was going to end. What was the condition of the office and what kind of behavior the modern man shows at the end of the time of the office days. The description is very sharp in contrast with the romantics. So this kind of description is opposite, is very sharp in contrast with romantics and pre-Raphaelites. Eliot deals with objectivity. There is no subjectivity in his poetry. He has written very objective writing. There is an element of sardonic humor in his poems. There is a humor, but that is a very pinching, very agonizing humor in his poems. In the first section of the Prelude, the poet describes the depressing gloom of winter evening. The atmosphere is heavy with the lightning smell of food, with the lingering smell of food and smoke of cigarettes. That the residue which is left in the office and the burnt out of cigarette ends gives a very ugly smell. It is also a time for offices to close down. The streets are deserted because everyone is rushing towards homes and places which provide them merrymaking. So the main thing is that they rush out from the office and try in search of places where they could get maximum pleasure. The loneliness of material man is contrasted with the lonely horse of the streets, which puts his hoofs heavily on the ground. The poet very objectively portrays the loneliness of modern man with the cab horse who puts his hoofs in anger. Eliot wants to show that as soon as the modern man is freed from the official work, he rushes to the places of merrymaking. In this society, there was no place for worship, for God. The contemporary society is unknown and barren to moral and spiritual values. So look at how the life of a man is constituted of that he wants to earn more and more money, and after working, after struggling very hard, when he earns some money, he looks around to enjoy life. There is no satisfaction. He keeps on hunting places where he could get maximum pleasure. So the poet is agonized about that the modern man, there is no feeling of spirituality. They are away from God, they are away from religion, and they have no moral concerns in their life and in their character. The only thing is they have become very materialistic, and that leads to many kinds of problems, alienation, frustration, and sometimes they become agonized. They are in depression. So these are all modern problems related with the materialism, and this happens due to because they have moved away from traditional society, from traditional ways of life, and more importantly, they are away from spiritualism, from spirituality, from religion, which provides solace, which provides a kind of platform where you can get mental satisfaction. So these kind of issues Eliot has raised in first part, in the first part and in the second part of the poem, the gloomy atmosphere and the condition of modern man.